There's always something going on. Fed up with this bloody BS. What now? This Antichrist. Mind. The body. AI. My muscles are absolutely being torn to shreds. Demonic life. And like, the frequencies are really strong. So these demonic perps sold their souls to the demonic side of life has already damaged my bloody boiler, my gas boiler. Can't get that water on. That never was going to be repaired properly. So that is putting myself, their perps are putting me at. They're not meant to put you physically at danger. Especially when I rent this place. They do everything possible so I can't live here. And then that police, they're gonna get it themselves. These guys talking, the perps working for the puppet servants of police, the budget. Richard Lighthouse is a good source to educate yourself the knowledge on. There's other interesting subjects and people, documents I've downloaded a while ago now. I was just checking my phone actually. I found some audio evidence how they got to my son, who is right past 8 now, who basically, I found this document that my son has been unlawfully targeted, and my daughter, and I've saved communication. They'll hack all your devices, just be aware of that. It's global. So it's key points is that they use neurology technology they use. It's due technology. I mean, you wouldn't think this advanced technology exists, but it does. And why do they need to use electronic magnetic waves, G waves, scalar waves to literally hack into the minds? Mind control chips, Barry chip, welcome to the machines, the transhumanism, isn't it? So, Mark of the Beast is all to do with controlling the mind, body and soul. The House of Evil, the Rothschilds, Nazi banking family. Gosh, I found these links a long time ago. It's the Antichrist. The last call for freedom. This is in a different language, so I can't really trade that. The secret's out. How to encrypt data in Wireshark. Don't think you can use any kind of real protection on any network because they're using satellites to hack into your brain. Debugging what? Can you debug and block out the hacking into the human brain technology they're using? So, good luck from encryption, because when neuromonitoring in part is in play and they do the hack versions, hacking into a computer anyway, and link it up to a different network on the dark web. And you don't, it's like adding secrets to Wireshark. I mean, do you need your 100% expert in IT to be able to do all this? You need some kind of computer knowledge and knowledge of code, computer code. Anything I post on this network or turn to social media is not getting through. Right, I see if I can hear the buzzing now. Wow, the frequencies are very strong because I had this recording on.
40 with kids. Wet clothes after the hobby.
Wow, I knew it's recording. So let's just check to see no other counts. Okay. The network has been rerouted. So I'm going to open up. Another tab. And again, I think I'll just have some noodles. Yeah, the skies are like with frequencies. Let's see. What a subject she's talking about. You're saying down. She lives with her mum in Ireland. What a subject she's been drawn in to talk about. She don't realise this mind control technology is getting her to talk about these subjects. What the hell? Why talking on these subjects? Somebody in the chat says, I don't care if they both drunk and I. Nobody should be subjected to. She's another target individual in Ireland. Wow. Let's just see if there is Richard Lighthouse. I'll play it on this. The time when I laid down, Friday 13th, 8, 2021. About 20 past 8. Alright, let's have a look. I eat fruit at the moment. The reason why there is so let's have a look. computer interface technology. That was 2 bloody years ago. Controlling drones of your mind. Oh my gosh. New neuro headset. Mind control technology. 2 years ago. Psychopaths. Psychopaths.
Greetings, fellow viewer. My main work, as you may have noticed so far, I tackle depth psychology and dark triad personalities. I share some unrelated self-help videos here and there to spice up things while I try to be original, as in my previous one on self-discipline. Today's book, however, couldn't be less on topic. I'm not teaching my control, neither does the book. It merely exposes the tactics for self-defense. We start off with distinction. Straightforward. That's documented performed on partners, a brainwash such as violence and or self-control. Mind control is more potent, a subtle process at the end of which is certain that the implied suggestion was final. Informed that it needless of violence. It is corollary to the art of seduction by Robert Greene, where a decision to gradually the mind victim she believes it was own. The major difference from brainwash is that the manipulator here is seen as a friend or teacher who's got our best interest at heart.
No, we haven't.
Antisocial personality disorder and psychopathic personalities are one of the most lethal individuals among us. Manipulation and some of the 48 laws of power come to them second nature. Apart from cults and sociopaths, mind control is used in social communities for recruitment, in business to thrust you to buy products of no value, but useful ones as well. Mind control is neither good nor bad, it's the intention behind its use that counts. Now we get to the core of this video, pseudo-personality process. The purpose of mind control can go beyond just influencing your decisions. Manipulators push people through a certain procedure to establish what we call pseudo-personalities. That is, a succession of thought loops, habits continuously ingrained which in the long run create a personality of their own. This new persona thinks and acts like the manipulator. It can be programmed to serve his needs, elicit effortless compliance, all the while the manipulated believes the benefit is onto himself. Such a mind control tactic is palpable on the micro as well as macro, like in groups, on cult members, or in one-on-one cults with a psychopathic lover. The process: befriending, unfreezing, change, refreezing, and modification. Let's start with befriending. We make a first impression in seconds, we then look for evidence to reinforce it, put the person in a box so we feel more comfortable beside him or her. If we like someone from the start, we'll prime ourselves to keep liking them, disregard red flags as these contradict our initial opinion, and also because our minds are super lazy to cross-examine again and again what we believe. This puts in a better position the psychopath, for he's well able to be consistent with his behavior, makes a habit out of the attitudes he found successful in winning your good first impression. The psychopath befriends the victim by attention showering, inquiring into their lives, sniffing out insecurities, compliment, and mirror as much as they can the same qualities. The goal is for the victim to identify the psycho's presence with safety and familiarity. At this stage, notice their hyper-observant nature. They seem too curious from all angles, precisely on what makes you and what breaks you. They narrate dramatic instances, lies, which purpose is to make them appear honest and humane. You feel the urge to open up in return, let out all your emotional baggage. You took the bait. Example, they will say they've been through similar traumas, had done the same mistakes or good deeds. You felt guilty at one point towards certain behaviors. You fell for some trap due to your regrettable naivete. Guess what? So do they. Your stories somehow seem identical, at least in regards to the emotions both of you experienced. You think to yourself, whoa, this fellow understands me on a very deep level. Now, not every person knows to let go with you is a psychopath. Sharing intimate details can and will happen spontaneously in dating and relationships without any hidden agenda behind it. The psychopath, however, shares deceptive fairy tales simply to a strong but fake bond, often in one single encounter. Anyone who's got decent social awareness, it's not as hard for you to notice when somebody is trying too hard, qualifying themselves, or be too agreeable. With a psychopath, you cannot. He can self-deceive and believe his own lies, which is what makes everything he says appear as genuine. A normal person can be caught in a lie because they often feel a bit guilty while telling it. This gives off palpable signs. The psychopath has no human emotions. He can only mimic such emotions, and like a chameleon, can play perfect the role of a pimp today and preach another day. How to identify this phase? Psychopaths are masters at filling the gaps in or fully mirroring your personality. Ask yourself, was the friendship formed in a very short span of time? As in, you find both parties doing favors for each other from a fourth or fifth encounter, which is not typical to strangers. Does their presence seem familiar and comforting? Are they observant, weirdly, and constantly curious about all the details of your life? If so, you might have befriended a psychopath. Concerning dates, excessive attention and love bombing can be discerned on the first few romantic encounters. Stop and think to yourself, why was it so quick the two of you became close friends or lovers? Be wary of individuals who showcase themselves as too similar to you. 2. Unfreezing. Unfreezing is defined as the deconstruction of your current personality and priming you for a new one. They will diagnose your problems or covertly do some for you, then pretend to be saviors. They stir a need, create anxiety, offer resolutions to strengthen the bond. Say they found out you're running a mundane existence, present themselves as regular travelers and hint at a life full of venture and liberty, should you stick beside them. Now the psycho succeeded at deluding you. He is the missing piece to your life. From this example, you can see that these games are played against you, not visible, but on a mental and emotional plane. What seems to be just a friendly banter, there lurks hypnotic suggestions behind each sentence. You don't have to share weak points overtly with a psychopath to know them. When you tell someone you're reading so much self-help, this indirectly says that there's something to be improved. When you give out vibes that you're depressed, it either subcommunicates relationship or career issues, quite common and easy to figure out. The psycho, however, can sniff out these traces of despondency, even in the subtlest of gestures and verbals. They read what you mean, not what you say. Basically, unfreezing revolves around making you hyper-aware of the flaws in your worldview. You start to doubt yourself and look for answers. And strangely enough, the psychopath seems to be one of the few who always knew better. Some people arrive to the cult or to the dating market, quote-unquote, unfrozen. They may be going through an identity crisis already. On a small scale, like a move away from their country. On a larger one, a romantic rupture, getting fired. Dangerous cults and psychopaths realize your lowest lows lay the groundwork for easy manipulation. They seize the opportunity. Even if you're not depressed, any period wherein you actively look up advice, you're the most susceptible to identity modification. The least I could comment here, be highly vigilant of those from whom you seek answers. Psychopaths can share constructive ideas that actually work. Due to this, you don't suspect the big picture playing behind it all. 3. Change. You gave a try someone's guidance and saw it's worth your time and effort. You follow them more and more. This creates a feeling of helplessness towards said person. After all, who doesn't want to regress back to an infantile state wherein we give the reins to those who seem to know better? In the meantime, we can think less and feel we're being taken care of. The psycho also may go as far as to befriend a relative of yours or a close friend. Now that Bob or John speaks often of their goodwill, your trust level is through the roof. Once you begin to trust, he or she will ready their seeds of ideology. You will fall for this, for they so far prove themselves to be good advisors. Each of us has core beliefs that work as defense mechanisms against self-contradictory influences. During unfreezing, the psycho's goal is to point out the flaws in this mechanism so you see his worldview as more fruitful. But once you get to this stage, quote-unquote, change, they begin to actively spill in poisonous ideas into your skull, slowly but steadily changing your personality. As usual, they sandwich this poison between good advice, mixed signals. He or she now calls for adopting a new set of beliefs. These demands always target your self-interest. On the surface seem quite appealing, hint at solving your major life issues. It's seldom that these come across as demanding. Only a keen eye for detail could notice. In simple words, they will ask a favor of you or guide you through changing your convictions without overtly saying so. Conceal these demands in the form of a higher cause to follow, another fruitful advice to take that will seemingly further your own cause, which in reality will further only their agenda. 4. Solidification Refreezing. At some point you trust them blindly, the modification process becomes a bit more blatant. They prompt you to relate your convictions with negative connotations and identify theirs as the ultimate way of living. Your personal beliefs are now the cause of dissonance and discontent, and since the central job of the mind is to sustain mental stability, it'll automatically repress your old personality for the sake of maintaining psychic balance. Your mind is tricked. The victim's personality had now turned into a shallow clone of the psychopath. This new pseudo-identity acquired is not equivalent to multiple personality disorder, for the old self had been totally repressed in this case and can no longer make its way to the conscious surface. Now, other tactics used in the process of befriending, unfreezing, changing, and refreezing. Modeling. There's some truth to the saying that if you want to learn something, teach it to others. Psychopaths and cult leaders encourage fresh members to recruit new people. Recruiting prerequisite the member to speak with conviction. Selling the idea strengthens it in his own mind. So in this regard, be careful of what you preach, though you're convinced it's useful. Every time you give out advice, you're giving that same advice to yourself over and over. I once said that you're the dumbest when you're the happiest. Couldn't be less true. Be it one-on-one with a psychopath in an intimate relationship or in a cult setting, the manipulator endeavors to present himself as the provider of pleasant sensations. He will evoke a feeling of helplessness by pointing out your shortcomings, and then provide solutions in thought form, or perhaps an environment full of state-altering activities, psychedelic music and hypnosis. You feel better. Be attentive to what goes into your ear on an emotional high point. Example, travel excitement, breakup, divorce, new job, when someone speaks too much too fast, like me right now. No, I'm just joking. You can't think. A psycho can make you laugh your heart out to shut down your critical mind. They get to work. Long-term traveling induces homesickness depression coupled with euphoria, i.e. cultural shock. You're in an altered state. You're overly happy, sad, or both alternately. Any state other than neutrality, you're more susceptible to mind control.
Yeah.
In micro or macro cults, the victims of a pseudo-personality experience intense inner conflict. These people believe wholeheartedly that they, without any extrinsic persuasion, concluded the idea of changing themselves. However, the subconscious cannot be tricked and knows that something had been repressed. Because of this, there goes an ongoing battle between the repressed true self, unconscious, and this new pseudo-identity, conscious, especially the clone is doing things the person would never do, like commit crimes on behalf of the cult leader. So rationalize those actions. Depressions and bizarre or physical ailment that are successful might be time to community leaders and knowledge sources. Not place the blame on them, but the chance possibility of a stealthier, a psychopath among them. Say it is so, these mental and physical symptoms are signs of huge repression that happened in the unconscious, in this case is the true self. Even after having left the cult or the pseudo personality is difficult to dismantle. Professional, it's a long-lasting syndrome the person himself keeps denying until they go to the cards that have been played on them. The financial and social life members can suffer unrecoverable losses. Some may lose even normal skills and have difficulty maintaining relationships and jobs. The symptoms are debilitating enough to an extent that which are often misdiagnosed as PTSD, schizophrenia, or MMPD, multiple personality disorder. Befriend, unfreeze, change, refreeze, and modify. The process can accelerate or decelerate relative to the number of tools that win it. You got hypnosis, peer group pressure, reindoctrination, which is basically repeating the steps of unfreezing and refreezing for sporadic. 4. Consistency of exposure to the psychopath. 5. Emotional manipulation, which I've just discussed. Note that the manipulator can go back and forth between these 4 elements: befriend, unfreeze, change, and refreeze. If the victim starts suspecting things, for instance, they may open up a bit more, resort to build again, cover traces perhaps, then go back to seeding. You can see now that mind control is subtle enough it goes undetected. I hope I did justice in exposing some of the tactics. This list is extensive but not exhaustive, and also repression and quite a few today. If you're unfamiliar with this psychological mechanism, due to my series on Jungian psychology. Comment down below what you think of this video. Perhaps you've been the victim of such a process before. Give this video a thumbs up and share so more people can educate and protect themselves. Thanks for watching.
Back in plus 500 met online. Plus 500 charm simplicity.
This video is supported by Curiosity. This program became known as MK Ultra. Beatniks and the weirdos, known as diethylamide.
Buddy within the agency and trying to explain or understand brainwashing. We were charged with rather elaborate attempt to try to find out chemical, psychological, any kind of means people could use to influence the behavior of other people.
On the side of a mountain overlooking the city stands an ancestral home, a name worthy of an Edgar Allan Poe horror tale, Raven's Crag. Paid to McGill. Became a memorial treatment of mental illness. Here the CIA channeled money for MK Ultra, Sub-Project 68, which became psychiatry memorial instructs of all things. Documents show that the agency had been was in designing sophisticated torture techniques later on. Dr. Cameron began to carry out the work. American citizen with a world-class reputation operating outside units. President of the Canadian, the American Association. In an investor showed that he certainly knew the potential of the human mind, for good and bad.
Pest which may destroy mankind.
For postpartum depression.
Cameron, and he strode the hall. John, and he was all there, but for God goes God. And to me, I mean, this great man who's done all these marvelous things, and I'm going to do everything that he tells me to do, and I don't want to lose this opportunity.
Mrs. Orlico, Mrs. Janine Huard of Montreal came to Dr. Cameron childbirth, a problem that coincided with the birth of her child, in awe of Dr. Cameron.
It was a big man, and I thought he was going to North America, so look at a few minutes, and proceed with it. I saw him all the time. Every time I saw him, I'd shake with fear. And every time I'd see him come in the hall, I'd shake with fear. But I adored him.
Elliot Emanuel knew Cameron.
He was an authoritarian, ruthless, power-hungry, nervous, tense, angry man. Not very nice. Tense.
At Ravenscraig, Dr. Cameron further drugs and electric shock treatments than any of the U.S. researchers in the MK Ultra project dared. His aims to wipe the mind clean. He would implant new messages by forcing the patient to listen to a hypnotic repetition as many as 250,000 times. This was called psychic bribing. Most of the drugs used in the program were experimental, and some dangerous. There was the tranquilizer Artane, a paralysis-inducing anectine, and curare, which pygmies tipped their with to paralyze victims. Bulbocaptan, another experimental tranquilizer, and lysergic acid diethyl, the hallucinogenic LSD. In her room at Ravenscraig, Mrs. Orr waited for her first treatment.
Well, I saw a tray with a hypodermic, with a needle, a syringe, and the card had my name, so I looked a little more closely, and it was lysergic acid diethylamide. And my husband was a druggist, and I knew a lot of drugs, but I'd never heard of that one. And so I phoned a friend, and who was a psychiatric nurse, and I said, "Do you know what it is?" And she said, "I never heard of it." But she had a friend who was a psychiatrist. So she phoned her friend, and she called me back, and she said, he said that this stuff causes poisonous psychosis. He said not to take it. Well, I thought, he's a very Freudian psychiatrist, doesn't believe in any medication of any kind. And after all, here's Dr. Cameron. I mean, he's the big doctor, and he's known all over the world, and he wouldn't do anything that would harm me, etc. And so I took the injection, and I didn't like it. It really did create a poisonous psychosis.
LSD with hallucinating mental images was scarcely known. The CIA secretly brought some in from Switzerland. What's been developed?
I thought my bones were, and I had to scream that I wanted to get out of there. And I thought, the squirrels, they're not squirrels, I'm the squirrel in this cage, and can't do it. I started to throw myself from the side. And they had given me a pencil and paper and asked me to write down, but I couldn't write. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't focus. I don't know. It was like some funny hell I fell into, and I couldn't get out. And I don't know how long that went on. It was just terrible. And I just felt that life was threatened. I'd never go back to what I had.
Robert came to the Allen complaining of trembling and severe leg pains, diagnosed as psychosomatic. Mrs. Orlico and Mrs. Huard. CIA experiment.
LSD. They gave it to me for about 12 or 15 times. One minute I would see the doctor there, the next minute I wouldn't see him there, and they were asking me all kinds of questions, and I remember them telling me that I was getting smaller and smaller, and I really felt myself getting smaller. And they were bringing me back in time, way back, you know. At one point I almost felt like I was just about to be born, really, that far back in memory, and they were really probing, asking all kinds of questions, and I felt I didn't have any control. I had to answer. I didn't feel I had any control. Completely, they had complete control over me.
Like the pay for the so-called treatment, some electric shock, all the drugs.
They would give me as much as 40 pills a day, and I would ask the nurse, what is that? They would say, new drug, and their own number.
How did they make
Well, it was well-powered. So these drugs trying to desensitize me. They would put lower my reaction.
As well as the experimental dramatic shock treatment subjected to psychic driving. Hypnotics were repeated. Sometimes as long as 16 hours. A key part of the mind control experiment. This is how Mrs. Huard remembered one of the messages. Away from responsibility.
Capturing all the messages, but they would lower my resistance so much with the heavy drugs, but I couldn't do otherwise than listen.
Did you ever ask them how any of this was making you better?
No, I didn't ask question. I was just say, I don't want to go through it, and I would cry. I wanted, you know. I knew it. Way down in my heart, I knew it was good. But, you know, how could you fight him in a with the best doctors? So
Take it anymore. This is doing, and he walked down the hallway with me and put his arm on my shoulder. And come on now, lassie, you know you're going to it. And finally I'd say, well, okay, go to my room. And he would give me an injection and then pat me on the shoulder and off he'd be again. I had LSD a total of 14 times. And sometimes it would be 4 days between the injections, and sometimes there would be one consecutive day after the other. And some of them I managed to write down things in my notes to Dr. Cameron.
A newly declassified CIA document shows there was at least one voice test at the agency as the experiments got underway. One agent wrote, "Does Project Officer approve the immoral and inhuman tests? I suggest that all who are in favor of the above intended operation volunteer their heads for use in Dr. So-and-so's noble project." The names were deleted. In her hospital room, a terrified Mrs. Orlico tried to hide like a duck the sound of Dr. Cameron's approaching footsteps.
I heard him come in, and I was in the washroom in my room, and I thought, well, I'll go and sit on the toilet, nobody will see me. Anyhow, that didn't work because he knocked on the door and he said, "Come on, Lassie, you know you're in there, and come on, you come out and let me give you your injection." And I said,
about
"I'm not taking any more injections."
Yes, this is in England. Eastbourne, Sealand, the Wenger, Point Steve from in someone's room, in the TV. I looked in the window, checked the system. How ironic. Is that all people care about? Is holidays. Watching TV, being mind controlled. I think on the YouTube channel.
Don't make sense.
They're trying to hack into me, the Antichrist. Hmm? They're trying to hack into me, the Antichrist. You can't capture the imagination. You see, if you don't look at the human nature from history today in the book The Future of Man, you can get on different platforms, so it's not just website. For abstract in the thoughts and writings of the author, and in the history it goes into what I wrote. So the history goes back to 1700s to date, where they've been planning throughout generations to create the New World Order, the occult, Freemasons, principles, and the Illuminati. Very demonic, by the way. And we really just, if you don't look into the origins that the reappearance of Christ, as stated in the Neo literature, is not to be confused with the biblical concept of the second coming of Jesus Christ, but refers to the world teacher who is expected to lead humanity into the forthcoming golden age on earth. Now, the work inside UN does not stop such recognised occult groupings. Much of this process was intricated through the officerships of the UN drag, and it quotes specifically 1953 to 1963. A book was written of the philosophy and extended by Robin Miller. So the drag hammer card national communist had ended up as a mystic. He too held at the end of his life that spirituality was the ultimate key to our earthly fate in time and space. Robert Miller, the desire to be human, a global reconnaissance of human perceptiveness in the age of transformation. In case readers may wonder what kind of spirituality drag Hamilton had advocated, a leaflet about the UN meditation room, written under the direction of that former male that passed away, stated that the entire ionized stone after within it is dedicated to the God whom man worships under such names in many forms. A quote, the occult of all-seeing eye. A book called Christian Book of America, 1962. We will say for a later date to show how this notion is fundamental to the development of this new spirituality in the New World Order and to the generation of the occult millennia here on Earth. You see, in 1973, Secretary General U. Taft, who was a mystic, formed the Organization of Planetary Citizens with a New Age activist called Donald Keyes. It is yet another non-government organization, UN, which is devoted to propagating the new the new propaganda. Since interception, this has grown to a global organization which is specifically devoted to preparing people for the coming new culture. Now, Gordon Melton, New Age, Wikipedia, where research stated an article 1990. Now, in a revealing connection, Donald Keyes had been actively involved with the New Age find fawn community in Scotland and writes regularly for magazine One Earth. One such organisation at the beginning of the 1980s, Donald Keyes wrote, the New Age groups are focusing on entering the New Age stage world related stage. They are becoming mature enough to begin to soldier some of the load of humanity's burden. The spread of the New Age values as an underlying yeast in the human loaf may be a critical ingredient for successful emergence from the 1980s. It quotes again another article. In this same article, David posed the question, to what extent will the new age emerge as the values invest in humans seen in the 1980s? And the answer is without doubt, it would have a major impact throughout the world on the value content of governance and the way life is lived. That this has been successfully the case, there can be no doubt. We now have all the talk about a new world order, and the president of the most influential country at the time in the world, and the most sympathetic man to the new world order that one could have in the White House. His deputy, Albert Gore, is completely in tune with the ambitions of the new split charity. It's also surely some significance here that Java de Cavalia, Secretary General of the United Nations of period 1982 to 1992, is reported to have been abducted by aliens. On 30th November 1989 is implied an article Independent on Sunday, the 2nd of January 1994. He'd had precisely refused to speak about this experience. However, in response to inquiry about the matter by the Prince of Liechtenstein, a leading world authority on UFOs, it did not deny that it had occurred. Whether or not this event really happened, the public disclosure through the international media could easily be part of stopping that process designed by security agencies to prepare people to accept that the ideal relationship between alien beings and world government leaders, the demons to assist the fallen angels. If you only look and stop, start and check what you're watching, what you're seeing, you'll see through the veil they live on earth as it is above and below. I'll go on, and we could say a great deal more about this here, but it is a major part of the grand deception of international governance at this present time. One has only to enter the so-called meditation room at the UN headquarters in New York to recognise the dark anti-Christian origins of the spiritual philosophy which has convinced and related to this organisation. The bare wave-shaped room, where its entire landstone altar and the cryptic pastel like a mural on the smallest wall symbolise the empty heart of countless religious cults and down the ages. There's the photo. It therefore comes to no surprise to learn that UN has its own official Indian meditation instructor, Sir Kamali, who holds meditation sessions per week with the UN building and whose speciality is to lure its audience into trance with music. Even the normal said Houses of Parliament in the UK have played host to that individual. Oh my God, I can't believe that. Wow. So I'll divert back to the live webcam and see what's going on with this, guys. Mm. She's still going for 2 hours talking this other lady. Mm. Really believe it. Okay. Yep. It's going to be a war, a spiritual war. So,
in a people farm, and people don't really realise it. I think of each country owns their pen, and what they've done now at the end is harvest time, and they're stock taking, they've closed all they're doing their stock taking, they're harvesting all those souls that they can get. And it's a natural progression from what happened in Tartaria. I mean, this will be the complete loss of human consciousness if they are able to lead us, actually able to get away with this. It will be the end of humanity. But when you really look at what we had, I mean, it's incredibly inspiring to see the art, to see the ancient history. If you just go out and look around your city right eye, and nothing makes sense. Even in the stories that we literally sit up and think about it, and you realise, no, this culture, all this stuff was here, and we inherited it all. So I've had to bring it forward and move it forward because they're running stuff through these politicians. So we see them being interviewed on TV. They know, getting out there and they're trying to still play their parts, but look at the body language of them. I'm terrified, scared to death. People are actually waking up. The faster they push this, the more they're waking people up. So it's all back. And they give all their power away to others, and they believe that they have control. They believe they have others, and they comply with behaviour. Willing to step. We're supposed to have law, which is put there to protect us. It's put there to prevent the causation of harm, to provide remedy when harm is caused. And yet now the law itself has become the main source of harm, and people simply go along with it because it's the law. It's that belief itself. So ultimately, it's us. I mean, even when you all the rulers and the maybe some people say, well, they're not human or whatever. They've got reptilian souls or whatever. I mean, whatever, But they look human, and they're just men and women that are out there doing these things, and we just go along with it. It's this need for power, this greed, this loss of everything it means to be human, the loss of free energy, the loss of the abundance that we're connected to all around us, which makes us believe we're in a state of scarcity, which makes us terrified we've got to get more and more and more and more and more and be in control of everything so no one will hurt us. It's it's us. It's us, it's all of us, I mean, it's really hard to point the finger and say it's them, and that's what a lot of people want to do, It's back to the same, change anything behavior and just do the right thing in what I do, because if people did that, they would change the world in a day. If people stepped into their moral compass, refused to comply with anything which caused them to step outside their moral compass, we would literally change the world in a day. The whole system couldn't function if we didn't comply with our own behaviour. So if people want to know who they is, they've really just got to look in the mirror and look at the little smart device they're holding in their hand and realise what they're participating in. And if they were to stop doing that, then it would all go away. No stake in the outcome, brother. I face infinity without flinching. To me, it's all a wondrous experience, and it exists is because people refuse to shine light on the darkness. And many people who believe they're in a state of high vibration actually have an inability to be able to process certain forms of light, because all information is light. It may be stuff that you perceive to be dark or negative, but it's simply information. And many people who sit there and say, I'm going to stay in a state of high vibration, I want to look at the darkness because that will bring me down. They're actually in a state of fear. You're in a state of fear of actually looking at that, because they feel exactly the vibration that they think they are. We can heal the darkness by simply casting light into the darkness. If you don't know a problem exists, you can handle that problem, and that problem will continue to persist because of your refusal to look at it. But all you have to do is cast light on it, and the problem goes away. It's really that simple. You can't have any stake in the outcome, and you can't think, well, this is going to make me feel bad. So it's just a way of healing the situation. You've got to be aware of both polarities of reality. It's the ultimate good as far as you can get it, and the most divine and magnificent good and joy and love you can possibly feel. And there's the other side. And one cannot exist without the other, and the trick is to bring them all together. No stake in the outcome of any of this. You're only here for a breath. You're here to heal this reality. You're here to gather the experience that comes to you and take it with you when you leave the realm. And if you you've refused to heal the light, or refused to heal the darkness while you're here, refused to ever look at the shadow, well, that's never been healed from yourself. We can heal the shadow, but we have to be aware the shadow is there, and we have to be prepared to look at the shadow. The shadow will flee before the light, but you've got to be prepared to put that fear down that you have looking into the shadow to begin with. And there's a saying that if you look into the darkness, you will become the darkness, but that's not really true. If you're spiritually inspired, when you look into the darkness, what you will discover is the level of good within yourself. When you see these dark things, you become outraged, but it's an empowerment. It's an empowerment sort of an outrage, and you simply got to look at the darkness and tell it to flee. And it does. It goes away. It will run before the light that you cast on it if you're prepared to look. But you've got to put that fear down in order to do that. You've got to cross that threshold. That's what a lot of the New Agers and a lot of these so-called spiritual gurus aren't prepared to do. They're all in this whole, where attention goes, energy flows, and I can't look at that because I'm creating it. No, you're actually creating it by refusing to look at it. You're allowing it to persist by refusing to look at it. And the fact that you've got to be there and ignore all this stuff around you shows you that you're putting all this energy into something you can simply heal if you were to look at it. Then it wouldn't be there. You wouldn't have to ignore it. Willful ignorance is what creates this problem, what allows it to persist.
There you have it. It's not interference.
It's not interfering. It's not interfering. It's not
So, during this article goes something like computers of information, the largest neurological design computer scientists have coined. A Yoga terabyte equal to 500 quantum pages of text. They need that much storage to archive every single trace of your electrical file. Yes, there is another government concealed behind the so-called main front of image people might know about. Behind that one, and that is visible of either end of Elizabeth Avenue, a hybrid entity of public and private institutions ruling a country according to consistent patterns in session and out of, connected to, but only intermediately controlled by the physical visual state, whose leaders we choose. My analysis of this phenomenon is not exposed of a secret cabal. The state within a state is holding mostly in plain sight. Its operators merely act in the light of day. Nor can these either be governments be accountably terminated an establishment. All complex societies have an establishment, a social network, committed to its own achievements. So this article, see, there's it, the biggest spy center, article 2002, NASA's building in America. Look at that. Yeah, by the mountains. And that is where the Freemasonries of the Mormons are based. Digital manipulation. Spring in the air, sand dusted town. As a soft haze to it, and clumps of a green grey brush on the breeze. Buffalo seals in a burrow-shaped valley. The Shadow Utah's ranch to the east and the mountains of the west. The heart of the Mormon country. See? I knew they were full of their demonic Freemasons. It's a front. They're not true religion pioneers at all. That first arrived 160 years ago, yeah. Joseph Smith is not the true prophet. He was a Freemason. And a lot of things that went on, you can research that. There's no disrespect to anyone that is one. But they don't always question the origins. They came to escape the rest of the world, to understand the series of words sent down from their gods that they perceive, as revealed upon the golden plates, as they implied, which is not true, I found out, and to practice what they were into bigamy, that's all those years ago, and to practice what had become known as a principal marriage, multiple wives. Today, the area is home to one of the nation's largest sects of multiple wives. See, that's 2012 article. Why do you think I got out of the Mormons years ago? The United Brethren were upwards of 9,000 members. It's more than that now worldwide. The Brethren's complex includes a chapel, school, sports field, and the archived membership doubled since 1978. The number of pure marriages had tripled, so the sect had recently been looking for ways to purchase more land and expand throughout the town. But the new pioneers had been quietly began moving in the area and secretively outsiders who say little and keep themselves to themselves. Like the polygamists, they are focused on disciplining cryptic messages, but only they have the power to understand. Just off the area, Holly Road, less than a mile from the Brethren headquarters, thousands hated construction workers in the sweat-soaked t-shirts are laying the groundwork for the newcomers' own temple and archive. A massive complex so large it is expanding its town boundaries. Once built, it became more than 5 times the size of the US Capitol. Rather than Bibles and prophets and worshippers, this temple will be filled with service. I knew it. I knew they were being used for other than just for members to do their endowments. Filled with computer service and intelligence experts and armed guards. If it's meant to be a sacred temple, you don't use it for that, and the men have been lied to. In this town, the big love, the big brothers become unnecessary neighbours, and the NASA's become the largest, most covert, and probably most intrusive intelligence agency ever. Under construction by the contractors is top secret clearances and named Utah Data Center. Yeah, National Security Agency. The project immense secrecy, the final piece and complex puzzle, established a base dedicated interception. I mean, goodness me, the 2 billion center should be up and running by 2013. Why do you think I left when I was a 17-year-old? Because I knew it wasn't the true so-called church, which my late mum always believed it was. God rest her soul. I left years ago, my family members are still in it. They're all part of the mind control. Yeah. And they lied to you about me deliberately. So they got to my son, daughter, grandkids. So yeah. Goes on to imply this article, following through its service and routers stored in the databases of forms of communication, complex or private emails, cell phone calls, Google searches, and all sorts of other data. My brother, a half brother, right? I'm an ex-army, British Army brother, knew full well about all this a long time ago, before this article, before I knew about it. And that's where the lies spread about my private life began. Yeah. And put me into the list. The code break is critical because such the data the center will handle financial information, stock transaction, business deals, foreign military and diplomatic secrets, legal documents, confidential personal communications. He will be heavily encrypted. According to another top secret official, also involved in the program, as I said, the NSA makes an enormous breakthrough several years ago, the ability to crypto lies, I think the word is, or break on the complex encryption systems employed, but not only the. So if you've got really good crypto, and not crypto, the encryption, it still can get through to the back door into your internet, like do with me. And around the world, and also many advantages of computer users in USA. So the upshot, according to his official, everybody's a target. It's not just target individuals, everyone is. With communication is a target for the NSA, and this is worldwide anyway. It's a post 9/11 budget awards. So everyone's a target, everyone's suspected since 9/11. So it's post is the first time for the Watergate and the scandals of Nixon administration. The NSA turned its surveillance operators on the US and its citizens. This is worldwide though. It's gone worldwide. So it's a diagram. It's a diagram. So, you know, they employ hackers and all sorts, as I've bust mine now. So and now I'm going to play in the background about the weather phenomena. And there's meters, fireballs lining up the sky of the US. Media blackout, the violence sweeping USA, starving people, taking over food shortages. There's so much unrest, it's unbelievable. Yeah, advanced technology. This is a spiritual war. Prophecy Club, what happened to... Yeah, so...
Welcome to the Prophecy Club, and so I'm going to title this program, What Happened to the EAS? What happened to the Emergency Alert System? Well, surprisingly, it happened. It did happen. I've got several emails from people saying, yep, it came on in my area. Okay, so wait a minute. What are we talking about? Well, the Emergency Alert System, according to the internet, is a national public warning system that requires radio and TV broadcasters, cable TV, wireless cable systems, satellite, and wireline operators to provide the president with the capability to address the American people within 2 minutes during broadcast emergency. And he can broadcast on cable, all satellite operators, all standards, important public service, are all supposed to close down. It used to be the emergency broadcast system some years, 20 years ago, when it actually interrupted the radio and all of the commissions. They actually made them install, which by the way they had to complain about it because I had several radio stations tell me, yeah, we had to spend $10,000 for this little thing to put in the middle of a broadcast. And of course, in the details, so we have that's who is over so that they can who is not out there listening. So the EAS, his email says, this scheduled EAS at 13:30 today, August 11th, 2021, did arrive on M radio, but not on my quote flip phone, and not on TV that I received from Cox Cable or for ABC. On the other program, that it went out after a period of time. Well, given the internet this morning for EAS, we get so after to hear it interrupt, and it did not interrupt. And apparently, it didn't interrupt in most places because I've reached several. Hey, what happened to that? what happened to that EAS talk? Well, I think it's saying that America is in a whole lot more trouble than really think or understand. In other words, when they can't to people, when they in a literal emergency. I mean, if it's not in place. And I think that was the whole point. Now, let me make another point. To speak probably he is 5 porches. The turning right, and I do not make any money off of what I'm about to say. I am resistant. Because being a salesman used to be a salesperson.
Not just
So,
sunset. Okay.
And I buy, but you can't say anything to make me buy. I'm extremely sales resistant. I do not watch. Probably, I don't even think I've watched all the way through. I generally don't listen to the radio because still comes on. My wife will tell you I turned off. I absolutely will not listen to the end of a commercial. Now, I say that saying it is still very important that you listen to my program. So yeah, that's kind of a not do as I say, right? Yeah, I understand. I know, but hopefully you'll continue. Those are important. But anyway, now I say all that to say this. I'm resistant, and at this point, I have never sent a MyPillow.com, and I have fast forwarded through of my pillow commercials as I watch Fox News. But because of what Mike Lindell is doing, I decided to stand. It's about time you took your bed and see if there's something on your bed that's placed, because I think you need to help Mike Lindell. So this is not the way I intended for this to come out. So I went to My Pillow and I decided, okay, well, actually I do a new hug pillow. Actually, I probably could use a comforter. Our comforter no longer keeps me warm at night. So I got a couple of things. And I say that if it weren't for Mike Lindell, most all of the cheating would be simply swept under the rug. I don't know of else that has picked up the ball and ran with it. And America really fumbled. We really fumbled. Back the ball, and he has run with it, and he is running hard and fast towards the goal line. And so I thought to myself, Stan, it's about time, brother. He didn't have a way, at least not that I know. Probably he does. I don't need you to send me the link, but I played a pretty solid yesterday with MyPillow.com, so I'm going to get some new pillows and things like that. Yeah, it's pretty, So we live on fumes, so I can find that I needed to order from him. Now, the point is I listen to this frankspeech.com, all these guests that Mike has on. I'm very glad that he's got some real experts on there, people that are really genuine Christians that are genuinely looking for the truth, and you can do that easily and readily as they're talking. And so I recommend probably speech.com. You'll be able to go back and listen to this. Surely you can put it up so you can listen. As I listened to it, was talking to one of my buddies, my plumber buddy out of Lubbock. Him and our friends will call and talk a lot. And I said, I'm really scared. I'm really scared for my nation. And I said, I'm trying not to get emotional here, but I think I know what to do. Do I save this nation? For 30 years, I have carried Dimitri's message. Church let me in. People don't like me. They think I'm a crazy or a wacko. Been attacked from every direction you can possibly imagine. Even personally. Sometimes people don't even like to come be around us. It's just of Demetrius' message, but I don't care. I continue to carry it. I've done everything I can possibly do to try to save this nation. By the way, is why I continue to have these solemn September. I'm trying to get people to fast and pray. I'm trying to get them to do the we need to do to fulfill 2 Chronicles 7:14. Turn from our wicked ways, then we'll hear from heaven, forgive our sins, and our land. I want to see the times arrive. I want to see God say, oh, you did the massive arrest, you did a whole lot of house cleaning here, but I'm going to give you some more time. I doubt he'll tell us how many more years, because it's always us. That's another reason why I encourage you to go to watch.com. If you believe in Dimitri, most people don't. I don't have to tell you that. Most people don't. They won't hear it. The window shade will fall, and they will just end the conversation and their friendship with you. You start messed up. So if you believe it, the solemn September assembly you. And I believe if you will put out the time, money, energy to get there, I believe God is going to bless you. I think He's not going to send enough money to get you there, but I think He's going to many times over. And I think He's also going to bless you spiritually. I think that there will be a time when you will be accountable, like the angel told Dimitri. Excuse me, I'm a little emotional. Like when the angel told Dimitri that the time would come to speak to his people, then, as he did Dimitri and Gwen. In other words, there's going to be a time when we're going to walk in those circles. Excuse me. There's going to be a time, sisters, that we're going to have dreams and visions far more than now. Angel visits, audible voices. Whatever God decides to do, I want to be right in the middle of it. And if I had a job, I do have a job doing this, but if I had, a normal job, if I was a normal Christian ministry like myself, I would still say, Lord, you want me to go to that? And then I would listen real carefully, ask continually, as often as it comes to mind over several, really seek His face. You want me to go to that solemn September assembly? Because if He says yes, here, let me give you an example. So we met Ron Wyatt for about 1989, it was. And we asked him to come and speak at the Full Gospel Men in Omaha, Nebraska. This is long before I ever being in the ministry. And he came in and spoke, and we asked him to stay at our home. No, he wants to stay at a hotel. And I said, please, we want you to stay at our home. We want that anointing to come into our home. So he came and stayed in our home. Full gospel businessman, very powerful, very important. Now, this is the guy, the Ark of the Covenant, Noah's Ark, crossing the side of the Red Sea, many amazing. So, 3 months later, we get this letter. And it says a tour to go and actually show you these sites. It costs like, I forget the amount, like $1,200. But back in 1989, $1,200 was like $500 today. And I looked at it, I said out loud, so I walked into the bathroom, my wife was putting on the makeup, and I found the papers in front of her, and I said, I'm going. She took she took one glance at the papers. She probably didn't read the first line past the headline. And she says, I'm going too. And I said, well, the money right now for me to go, much less for you to go. She says, I'm going. Would you believe within 2 weeks, they get a really big sale, and the money from that sale not only fill in all of the blanks and all of our personal business, it also filled in the blanks for the sales that would have made and those that was gone. In other words, God totally sent the money. And I done thought, I've often thought, okay, so what if I'd said, God, if you'll send money, I'll go. I don't know if he would have. I always wondered that. I don't know if he would have. But I think it's because I said, I'm going. And I walked in and Leslie just, 5 seconds. She just read the headline. She said, I'm going to. Money. It's because we said, I'm going first. We put his kingdom first. Then he sent the money. It's the way a lot in giving, for example. And I can't tell you the story because then I would lose my blessing. But I need someplace. And it was a large need. And it was going to hurt our checkbook to give. And I said, I don't care. I said, I don't. And I wrote the check. And I gave. You believe that, and I actually 3 or 4, as I'm trying to tell you, 3 or 4 other examples pop into my mind where other times, because that's how you break the poverty is by giving. And so I gave. Would you believe that less than an hour later, someone rang my bell and handed me a check for exactly the same amount? And the check that I had written already had a stamp on it. It was out in our mailbox that I didn't think I was going to be able to cover. And all of a sudden, somebody rang my doorbell and handed me a check for the exact same amount of check. I believe that's the way God works. So when it comes down this solemn assembly, if we'll just, I'm going. My country needs me. My country needs me. My brothers and sisters need me. I believe his message. I believe in these are the warnings that I'm hearing from you. And I know that if I don't go there, and yes, we're going to live stream it, but it's not the same. If I go there, pray, blow my shofar, lock my arms, brothers and sisters, if I don't fall to my knees, if I don't wrap my heart, if I don't part, I might not have a country. My country needs me. I am going, and I ask you to send them. And I believe he will. He will send the money. We can't say if to God. We can't always say if. God, if you'll do this, then I'll do this. Sometimes we just have to step out and say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it whether you provide or not. Believe in him. He will. He will provide. We've got a pretty sizable donation just today. And just, see, I can't talk about this. I can't tell you. I can't tell you our giving. But just yesterday and just even here in the last week, I had people in some really big need. They were really hurting. And would you believe that it just arrived today to cover it? Just out of the blue. Just out of the blue. I called. I'm sorry, I didn't intend to talk about that. The Lord spoke to my heart that this one person will change. And there's so many other examples. It's hard for me to keep my thoughts, but one at a time here, Stan. So I called him. No, actually texted him. And I said, I'm impressed to send you so much. Next back, and in his text, I could see he crying. He was crying. So I sent it. Do you want me to do this? You want to do that? He said, tell me how you want to send it. And so I wrote out a check. 2 days later, Lord sent in and said, send him this. And it was 3 times. I'm thinking, what? The first, it's not easy to send. What? But believe God, I know God, and a lot of this stuff is just tests. So I wrote a check, laid it over in the little cubby hole by the door where we go out to get in the car, and I said, let's go make a deposit in that same account with this amount here. She said, you just sent him something? I said, yes. And then she looked at that and she said to me, what? I said, it's deposited. And God sent the money to cover it. I'm not suggesting that you write hot checks. These were not hot checks. They would have hurt, but they also would have put us pretty tight. And that's the way it has to be with God. Now, I'm not saying this to try to send more donations to us or to even come to the September Assembly. It's often been in my heart sometime I need to talk about the world of giving with God and how it works with God, because most of the time when you hear people talk about giving, it's all because they're trying to fill up their pocket. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to say when it comes to God, we have to believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. And I know I could pull out scriptures, but that's how it really works. This is how it really works. Same thing when I went on that tour with Ron White. Walked into last week, she said same thing. Well, where are we going to get the money? Again, within 2 weeks, we had the money. I think that's what it is. Don't let money hold you back from the Lord. Just don't do it. Just don't. Just believe God. You got to just believe God. Okay, let's see. What was I going to cover today? How much time do I have? Okay. FrankSpeech.com, I think, is putting out some incredibly important information right now. If you have been watching it, then sign up and somehow go back and start. Now, on to the next thing. This comes to express.co.uk, August 9, 2021. Chinese nuclear attack subs, quote, stalking Britain's new aircraft carrier across the Pacific. Chinese nuclear have attempted to secretly shadow the Royal Navy aircraft carrier, the HMS Queen Elizabeth, as it sailed into the Pacific. It emerged today. But they were detected by anti-submarine operators aboard the frigates protecting the carrier's strike group. 2,000-ton Shang-class submarines, which are armed with cruise missiles by the specialists in the operations room of the HMS Kent and HMS Richmond. As the carrier group left the South China Sea and moved into the Pacific Ocean. Now, hang on. Why am I reading this? As I said in yesterday's program, the audible voice said to me, the 7 seals play over 7 years. The 7 trumpets play over 7 months. And the 7 vials play over 7 days. If you first 2 seals, the first one is the white horse. He went out conquering to conquer, means war. And when it says white horse, it's talking about one of God's angels. Second seal is the red horse. And there went out another one that was red. And power is given to him to take peace from the earth. And they should kill one another. And to him is given a great sword. Both of those angels, the first seal and the second seal, which may not be taking place each one over 1 year period. In my opinion, they probably take place almost back to back. But both of them are talking about a big war. So if we want to know when the tribulation is getting close to starting, we can watch how the nations are getting geared up for the next big war. So in that the Chinese are stalking Britain's aircraft carriers, that's probably telling us that we're getting close to a war. And the Chinese have built up their military, everybody knows that. The Russians have built up their military even more. Putin is openly saying, we can take you out, we can track you, we can find you, we can stop you, we can defeat anybody on earth. He's basically saying that. And at the same time, well, how about America? Well, if Trump and getting a bunch more money for our military, we would be in shambles. And I'm pretty sure that we're not up to a capability that like we need to be, because Putin would not be so braggadocious in saying we can take you out if it weren't true. Who would say that? One would say that. No leader of a nation would say, I'm king on the hill, if it's not true. And we already know from the prophecies that Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and two other countries will attack and defeat America in 1 day and 1 hour. Well, okay, let's look at that. Russia, they don't like us. They're mad at us. They're mad at us over us calling them cheating in the 2016 election and also cheating in the 2020 election. They're mad at us for a number of reasons. Russia, Cuba. Well, Cuba's been our enemy for 50 years. Then we look at the Central American nations, and where most of the people are coming from, they're crossing over into our nation at the south border illegally. They're crossing illegally into our nation. Now, do you think that we're getting information from our news sources that shows us these poor little women with all of these babies hanging off of their arm, struggling to get across the river, and there's an old man helping them, and he's overweight? Do you really believe that's the truth? I don't. I think a lot of them are military age people. Why military age? Because those people coming over the border, many of them, if we knew the truth, are prepared to go to war. All they got to do is give them marching orders and guns and ammunition that they're ready to fight. In other words, they're pre-planting our enemies inside of our borders. So if we look at Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and two other countries. In Mexico, they're mad at us. They hate us. The fact that they consider Texas and California and Mexico all their land. They wanted that back for, I don't know, several centuries. So, to me, it seems like we're getting pretty close to the tribulation. That's my point. All right, now let's go back to the point that I started. So what happened to the emergency alert system? I think that it is not in place, and that's probably why they had to run a test. Now the question is, can it get fixed? How are they going to get it fixed? And is that a prerequisite for the massive arrest? Because I hear from a lot of different sources that the massive arrests are gearing up. They're increasing. Of course, we know they've been going for under 3 years, but they haven't been the big political names or the big Hollywood names that would make news yet, in most cases. I'm calling all believers to bring your shofar and fast 48 hours and pray together September 6 to 8. We're declaring a war against the devil and proclaiming victory. Go to watchmanstrumpet.com and get signed up. Watchmanstrumpet.com for all the details. Order School of the Watchman Teachers package. You get 2 foot by 3 foot full color updated prophecy charts, my personal spiral ring notebook of the book of Revelation, 5 DVDs of the Watchman, all valued at $325 for a gift of $200 at prophecyclub.com. School of the Watchman Teachers package, 2 foot by 3 foot full color updated prophecy.
So now we're watching to see this guy suddenly flashes red at 5 to 10. Scotland, halfweather.co.uk. That's the time anyway. Times are changing. If it suddenly flashes the sky red, there is a planetary body behind it, which is very demonic. Not unusual. It's kind of living in. Yeah. So reddish. The sun has gone down. I take that you get on. Very demonic. Seeing this network. A demonic world we're living in. Oh, I'm sneezing it. Oh, that airplane went up my nose. Well, you heard what we call it. That airplane went up my nose. Well, you heard what we call it. Yeah. Bloomberg hit the earth a month ago. Let's see. What is Triple End Times teachings? Details about the asteroid that is headed towards Earth. And also answers questions UFOs. I don't believe UFOs. Also an interview with somebody at Sky Watch TV. An awful of the woman with prophecy. What NASA is doing to prepare for the intimate threat of the asteroid hitting Earth. It's more to do with the comets. Come on.
Today I'm talking about the star Wormwood hitting the Earth, what the Revelation says, and I'm interviewing Dr. Tom Warren, who has written a book, The Messenger, and it is about wormwood hitting the Earth, potentially in 2029, and he'll be giving you the details on that. And I'll also answer your questions such as, what about all the recent UFO sightings? What does that mean? I'm Jimmy Evans. Welcome to the Tipping Point Show. There's a rider on a white horse. That's the Antichrist. But he's making war. He goes out to conquer and to make war. Then there's a rider on a red horse. That's the second seal that's broken. Peace is taken from the earth and men kill each other. Okay. The third seal is the rider on the black horse, and it says that there's famine and starvation. It takes an entire wage to buy enough food to survive that day. The fourth seal is broken, and it's the pale horse. A fourth of mankind is killed. Different manner, by sword, and by wild animals. It's just absolutely awful. The first four seals are terrible. The fifth seal is broken, and you have the altar of souls, where the people who have been martyred are asking God, how much longer do we have to wait? And the Lord says to him, there's more coming. There's more people who are going to be martyred. And so you need to wait a little bit longer. What that means is there's going to be mass martyrdom during the tribulation, the Antichrist killing people. Revelation 20 tells us about the people who have been beheaded because they would not worship the beast or take the mark of the beast. So this is mass martyrdom during the tribulation. When the sixth seal is broken, something very interesting happens. And this is kind of a preview of what we're talking about with wormwood. It says, and I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake. The sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place.
Potion.
And the kings of the earth, rich men, the mighty men, the commanders, every slave and every free man, hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains.
Yeah.
And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand? I want to begin, this is talking about the sky growing black, and the stars begin to drop like a fig tree drops its figs, and all those things. Well, if you saw the movie Greenland, it's a good movie, and it talks about extinction level event that happens when an asteroid hits the Earth. And what you notice in that movie, which is a very realistic movie, is an asteroid is not just one big rock, even though it is, ultimately. You have all of these stars, all of these parts of the rock hitting in waves.
Yes.
And so that would be like a fig tree losing its figs. And so read in just a minute in Revelation chapter 8 now, all of the events, or the first 4 trumpets, are going to sound in Revelation chapter 8. The seals are over. The first 4 trumpets are going to sound, and all of these are the same event. It's all wormwood that's about to hit, that hits, and the effect after it hits. So this is chapter 8. When he opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. Another angel, having a golden censer, came and stood at the altar. He was given much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints ascended before God from the angel's hand. And then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it to the earth. And there were noises, thunderings, lightnings, and an earthquake. So the 7 angels who had 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. So they're about to sound their trumpets, and as each one of them sounds the first 4 trumpets now, this is all talking about the same event. This is the first trumpet. Verse 7, the first angel sounded, and hail and fire followed, mingled with blood, and they were thrown to the earth. And a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. So now here comes this asteroid, and it begins to enter Earth's atmosphere. And what happens is the atmosphere becomes superheated.
Yeah.
And so just like this star is coming, it's showing off these parts of it that come in first. That's what it's talking about here. And then everything begins to get burned up. It begins to scorch the earth. Here's the second trumpet, same event. And the second angel sounded, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. And a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. Again, this is part of wormwood. This is part of the asteroid that comes, and it strikes the ocean. And when it does, it just devastates the ocean and the sea life in the ocean. Okay, here's the third trumpet. Then the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and a third of the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died from the water.
Take a moment to let this sink in.
What's the truth about the great?
Go by demons. You know that this is in times.
Reset. You may have heard murmurings of
water because it was bitter. Now you notice
nearly 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ.
Keep pressing on the button.
Water because it was bitter. Now you notice that this is affecting part of the earth. That's a massive amount of geography that this is covering, both in the sea and on the land, and is making the waters poison. So the people die when they drink the waters. And now later in Revelation 16, all sea and all of the waters of the earth are either poisoned or become blood. So the judgment upon the waters is one of the great judgments. But what you'll notice now in the trumpet judgments, and also or the seal judgments and the trumpet judgments, is just partial. It's a fourth, it's a third, it's partial. When you get to the bowl judgments later on in the book of Revelation, it's total. Everyone's affected by those judgments. And so this is the fourth trumpet. Then the sun was struck, a third of the moon, a third of the stars, so the third of them were darkened. A third of the day did not shine, quiet as night. And I looked, and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, "Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth." Trumpet, 3 angels were about to sound. Let me go back now to the 6th and read you what I read you earlier. I looked when he opened the 6th seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth as the fig tree drops its late figs when shaken by a mighty wind. So both in the 6th seal and also here at the 4th trumpet, we're told that the sky grows black. That's exactly what happens when a meteor or an asteroid hits the earth. That magnitude asteroid, it throws up all the dust. There's all like Mount St. Helens or something like that. All this dust is thrown up in the atmosphere, and it becomes very dark or black. So these judgments are describing one end. An asteroid is coming. It begins to superheat the earth, burn up all the green grass, that. Then it throws off a part of itself in the ocean. Then it hits the earth, and then the sky grows black. So the judgment of Wormwood is a severe judgment that causes great death, great harm. You can understand the level of panic. Now, Dr. Tom Horn is going to join us here, and he had a personal experience that he's going to talk about, a dream that he experienced that then led him to the truth of Apophis. Now, Apophis is what NASA is calling the asteroid that it's on its way here. And there's some level of disagreement that you'll hear him talk about that NASA is trying to deny that this is going to hit the Earth directly. You can imagine the panic that would cause if everyone knew this was happening. And by the way, we have sent up a spaceship for the purpose of finding asteroids and trying to blow them up for the purpose of them not even hitting the Earth. And so I personally believe that is in response to Apophis and what NASA is saying right here. We're going right now to this interview by Dr. Tom. NASA has affirmed that there is an asteroid headed toward the Earth. They're calling it Apophis. And they're saying it's going to arrive, was it 2029?
Yeah, Friday the 13th, April 2029. And you may have seen in recent weeks where they're reaffirming something they already did say, and I dealt with it in both the Wormwood prophecy as well as the new book, The Messenger, in which they're saying that while Apophis is going to make a very, very close miss of the Earth, they are saying that right now they're calling an all clear, saying that it's not going to impact the planet. Now, this is something that your listeners need to really pay attention to. There are numerous scientists that reacted to their most recent all clear, warning that the trajectory that they have made, their calculation of Apophis, is off by as much as 600,000 miles. In fact, the mathematician Harry Lear, he implies that Apophis is going to crash into Earth in 8 years from now, and he even went so far as to send a letter to the President of the United States, begging him to have the U.S. government scientists check those calculations immediately, because he says that NASA is either playing a game with the trajectory stats, or they are just they're intentionally misleading the public. And then he ends his letter. Anybody can log online and read his letter. He ends that dispatch with this ominous admonition that he thinks we're already out of time anyway. But maybe if we got on it now, and I think behind the scenes they are on it now, I think it's part of the reason Space Force was formed, that they're trying to figure out how they might be able to mitigate this incoming event. But it's not just Lear. Nathan Myhrvold, who was the head of Microsoft, the science department of Microsoft for many years, he is consistently listed every year in the top 100 scientists in the world. And he recently wrote a peer-reviewed paper that I referred to in the books called An Empirical Examination of Wise, Neo-Wise Asteroid Analysis and Results, in which he not only refutes a lot of the data from NASA, he charges them outright with deliberately misreporting threats by these near-Earth objects and of behaving extremely deceptively with deliberate scientific misconduct. So in other words, he's saying this wasn't an accident on part. They are going out of their way to intentionally cover up very real, potentially imminent space threats, including Apophis. And then there's a video on YouTube that anybody can watch right now that's got the famous planetary scientist and the astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, very popular figure. And he says that on April 13, 2029, I'll quote, this is from the YouTube video, this is a quote, "A Apophis will come so close to Earth that it will dip below our orbiting communication satellites. It will be the largest, closest thing we have ever observed to come by Earth. The orbit we have for it now is uncertain because these things are hard to measure and hard to get an exact distance for, so we cannot tell you exactly what that trajectory will be." So, and this was the same thing that the astronomer from the Pentagon told me. He said it's absolutely baloney. Well, he used a different word that I won't use. He said it's absolute baloney. He said you can't say that a stone as big as Apophis, and it's a monster, is going to come literally below the satellites, knock out some of the satellites, below the satellites that are in orbit around this planet. And yet say with any certitude, but no worry, it's not going to strike the planet. He said that's absolute baloney. Watch the movie Greenland, where right up until and so you know that in the beginning, NASA, they're all saying, no worries, it's just going to skim past, no big deal, take pictures, draw cartoon pictures of it. And then all of a sudden, everybody starts heading for cover. And that is what many of these people believe is going to happen with Apophis. Now, why would NASA be covering that up? Well, it's really obvious because it would create mass panic. And maybe meanwhile, they might come up with some way to mitigate the incoming of asteroids.
Well, they're sending a spaceship up right now to blast an asteroid. They announced.
They are.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, and that's the reason why they are doing that.
Well, that's a fascinating interview. I hope that you enjoyed that. Now we have more of it coming, about 10 more minutes of that interview coming up in the subscriber portion. If you're not a subscriber, please become a subscriber. endtimes.com is where you go to subscribe. It's $7 a month, $77 a year. As a monthly subscriber, you get the first month for free. So if you want to just check it out, become a monthly subscriber. It's free for the first month. If you don't want to continue, fine. And if you do, that's great also. But become a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, I'm going to say goodbye to you. If you are a subscriber, we're going to take a short break here, and we'll be back with more of the interview from Dr. Tom Horn. And I'm all set.
Wow. Greenland. Well, the skies didn't go flashing red. Seen the movie anyway. It's a good movie. The asteroids hitting Earth. Good acting. But you also got movies of the end world. But I'm watching this guy. It's obviously it's going to go naturally dark. The hint of the red's gone behind the hills in Scotland. So I was watching this. So you got Keys in Florida and the skies are strangely pink. Don't they like to the motorbikes bar? Demonic. Where's Long Island? Where's Long Island in America? Yeah, it's going just naturally dark. It's like New York, I'm not sure. Yeah, it is. Long Island. Wow, that's how it works. So you've got in America, the Oscar Bay is off from the Riverport, so like a little island. Wow, and in America, they got the names where people from England all those years ago went to Plymouth and found them. That's where they first ported in the boats. And we got names of Manchester, wow, Maine, Yarmouth, gosh, the tiny islands. What, they've even got a Truro named a town called Truro. They pinched English names of some parts of islands just off New York in America. Wow. Yeah, that sky, Scotland's natural conduct. So let's have a look then. Seeing that sky is not going to do anything much more now. It's still got light in the background on the horizon. So they've got hot weather up there.
Book your summer holiday with confidence. Wow, the skies are strange in Florida. The comments are weird in Florida. Wow, completely strange skies. Tropical storm warning.
still a bit strange light there. It's got Oh, hi Tanya. How are you? Didn't notice you popped in. I was just observing these weather cameras. What's the weather like where you are? I was going to go and get to the shop, but it's too late for me now. Only now they decided to hack my bloody computer. Hold on, let me just get rid of this. What's this? I was trying to say hello. Hey, I was trying to say hello. How are you? So let's go back on webcam. This is in Florida. I'm just looking at the Wormwood planets. My bloody ramping into my nerves today. My body is absolutely shattered. I'm having a late. So yeah, I'm just watching the Was that the one I was looking? Still. You too, yeah. Okay, how are you today? I think it'll be a nice day. What way you are? Well, I don't know. It's just gonna all change again, isn't it? And I don't know about where you are, so it'd be nice. But I don't think it will be in England. The weather changes again. So let's have a look at in America. Off the coast. Look how they got you not already. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
As soon as you popped in and I thought I see you, they hacked me. I'm back now. Okay, so let's go back and see if I can show you what I can. So I hear you're tired. I'm gonna get that rubbish back before. You can hear me now. They come in the front door. They're at the back. Hello, you perps. Observing the subject of one word is followed a big. Lovely bird, isn't it? Look at tiny beautiful nature. That's it. Yeah, they are. Let me just say this is showing, not the. Camera's panning around. That great big storm coming in. Those buildings by the coast when it's going to be a storm. Look how low level it is. Water, I'll be back. I'll be back. Oh, I'm not going anywhere now. I was. Everyone's gone on holiday around. They're well, I shouldn't speak to you soon. Excuse me. Just unpacking again. Oh. So what did that take time, yeah? Anything much? Exhausted. Bloody radiating my muscles all bloody day. And the perps are hiding themselves. Surveying its 24 hours, isn't it? Oh, rotting in it. Don't know why I said that. Rotting in it. Perfect. Have to redo the water because it's boiling dry. Let's get some needles on. Try and watch a movie or something. Woke me up pretty bloody early today, I tell you that now. Woke me up at 7 a.m. Nasty pieces, you know what. 7 a.m. woke me up. So I'm absolutely shattered. Powers up being know what they're doing, they're hacking our brains. Fucking monkeys. Fucking monkeys. People still going to swim on the beach in this weather. They keep sending motorbikes round. Stupid twats. Hope they fall off. You just woke up yourself. Yeah, sorry to hear you too. We're all going through this, aren't we? Did you get much sleep? Just having a sandwich and observing. Turmeric powder. Turmeric mixed with powder. Call it. Can't think. Black pepper, lemon juice, mixed coconut oil in a paste. Put it in a jar. Leave it days and use it as a herbal tea. That's what I've been using. Well, UK will be in lockdown. We're going to have lockdown. Complete lockdown. Exactly. That's right, Tanya. I call it a torture chamber. Never get a holiday. Wait a long holiday. Let's go. Did anybody look at the sign? In the sky. Or have a drone. Perpetrator. Bang the door. They like to bang the doors. Perks at number 7. The demonic perps. Make sure she get paid. Acid rain. Artificial rain. Nano particles. Not rain. It's better than nothing. Shouldn't they like just keep hacking me? I think it's game. I'll be back. Okay. I can't bear to see it.
You can wait till joined.
They keep hacking me. Got no money before I get it. I know that how that feels. They want to make us literally have nothing, Tanya. You're demons. You're demonic. You like to get hacking, do you? No. Friday 13th, 2021. 11 o'clock. Get hacking, get in there. Yeah, nothing new. back here. Hi Tanya, they're putting bugs outside my door again. They dirty perps. And of course, number 7, police reformers flat, they had the door open and then they took the handle off by the lock. I'm gonna fall for that bloody trick, am I? Perps. How pathetic. I thought you could do better than that. Putting bugs in. No sound. Okay. No sound. What is sound? Sound is silent. Check this. I have sound. Panga's Desert. And I'll share this stream in shortly. So, perps are placing bugs at the door. Yeah, really? Get a knife. Prats. check on that, you demons. Right, Tanya, I'm gonna end this particular stream, okay?